is a broad church, a big tent with not many people in it, but I think more ideas or more versions of what libertarianism is than actual people. Uh, so you never know actually what you're going to get with somebody who self-identifies as a libertarian. At times, you will actually, hear some rational views and be surprised if it's like not your first interaction with a libertarian. But yeah, there's various views and there's no clearly that's kind of the thing with libertarianism. It's not a clearly defined political ideology. And any ideology that attempts to include capitalism and anarchy in the same under the same umbrella isn't really trying to have clarity in their definitions. So it's not really a shock when libertarians come out as anti-Semitic, anti-Israel. They've come out as anti-American. Many libertarians in America are very anti-American. Uh, but it's still, as Garbled Word says in the chat, great topic to cover. Thank you, and I agree. The reason we're covering this topic is because a Facebook friend of mine, a former Facebook friend, posted a few days ago, himself waving a PLO flag, and we're gonna read the post because the way it was worded was also very interesting. But yeah, this is a phenomenon that we've talked about in the past, and I thought it was a good idea to talk about it again. Welcome to the reality show. I'm joined by Daniel, Stuart, and Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm gonna go to you first because, well, I was Facebook friends with this guy. I think you were much closer with him, although I don't want to accuse you of anything. So why don't you tell us, what do you think? And actually, well, it's up to you how much you want to talk about this guy at the moment, but we will go through his post later. But yeah, any thoughts on him or generally about the fact that libertarians, many of them, are really big on the exterminate the Jews movement right now?
Yeah, of course. Great to be back with you, Razi, here after so long. I don't know where you get that we were close. We attended I attended various conferences, and he happened to be in a few of these conferences, and we happened to talk as you do when you are in these conferences. We're nothing beyond that. I wouldn't call it friendship. I wouldn't call it close. And I saw that I was also Facebook friends with him, as you said. And I also saw the post. And my initial thought was, oh, another European hates the Jew. Big surprise. The fact that he was libertarian, I'm also not surprised. I wasn't surprised by any of that. Some of my friends, actual better friends, proper friends, who are libertarians, Israeli ones, they were very surprised by that, and I couldn't understand how is it surprising. What's surprising that somebody with an incoherent ideology will happen to like the Palestinians will be super, especially somebody from Europe, from the very country that 6 million Jews were murdered. I don't know, I wouldn't say the whole 6 million, but a very big chunk in the same country would wave the modern day equivalent of the swastika. I just don't find it very surprising. Um, Personally, the character himself seemed a very bizarre individual. So nothing about him would strike me that he would have any reasonable views. I would assume the positive element of his views, which is very narrow, the fact that he associates as libertarian, I would assume that it comes from the general anti-establishment, like a youthful, rebellious sort of idea that is, or perhaps this is just a group of friends that he likes to hang out with. I wouldn't really make too much of it. He's not a philosopher, not anything, and like any sort of intellectual, just a guy who shows up at a conference that we also showed up due to various reasons. So I wouldn't make too much of that individual, but I agree that it's a very interesting view on how contemporary youth sees this issue.
Yeah, I'm also not making too much of this individual, but I do think, yeah, as you said, there's interesting things in how he said it. By the way, that his name is Sebastian Veglarts. You can look him up. He's with Liberty International. The country you're talking about, Jonathan, is Poland. And but yeah, we'll go through the post in a bit. Stuart, your general thoughts about, libertarian anti-Semitism.
Well, I think, it's in one sense, it's not surprising when you realize, as you said, that libertarianism is such a big tent that it really encompasses, you could probably find libertarian flat earthers. I mean, it's just, it's a big enough tent to encompass all kinds of craziness. Um, but I do think, I don't know about this guy in particular, but I think some of the people his age that are pro-Palestine, I don't think it's coming from a purely anti-Semitic place. I think it's coming from, there's a real susceptibility to propaganda, and not just around Palestine, around all kinds of propaganda. And I think we're seeing in America too how once people are taken in by certain propaganda, it becomes self-reinforcing. To admit that you were taking it in is too psychologically, no one likes to think they're a dupe. No one likes to think they're stupid. And so the propaganda just becomes self-reinforcing. And you see this not just with Israel, but with all kinds of propaganda. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that just never learned how to screen out propaganda or how to properly evaluate a statement in the media. And so you see this with, especially with young people, that they get taken in and then they run with it because now in this case, it probably is reinforcing some subtle anti-Semitism that he may not even be aware of. But I don't know that it's coming primarily from that place. I think it's coming from a place of being taken in by the propaganda. That's my guess. I don't know this person at all.
Well, okay, I'm gonna go to Daniel afterwards. I'll actually start with one of this guy's replies to someone, which shows that it is full on anti-Semitism in his case.
Yeah.
But you also see in the post itself, he kind of preemptively dismisses any criticism, including criticism of anti-Semitism, and he does that whenever he gets a reply that disagrees with him. And also in his profile, he sort of brags about being a meme lord or whatever these people call themselves. So he proudly is anti-intellectual, but a bit less proudly anti-Semitic, as in he pretends like he's not, and then shows that he is.
From the picture, Razi, I think it's abundantly clear that he's sort of a clownish figure, and
Well,
that's
he's
some,
waving a PLO flag. I mean,
yeah, a lot of clowns were this their uniform nowadays. Yeah.
yeah, and murderers and would-be murderers and supporters of murderers. Yeah, that is, as you said, it is the modern day swastika. Daniel, your thoughts? I don't think you know this guy, but you can tell us if you do, and yeah, your thoughts about this generally.
Yeah, I mean, I know a few sort of like Polish libertarians, or generally, I think even some objectivists. Poland has a big scene, libertarian scene. I think they even have a political party that actually gets into the Polish parliament, the Confederation. But and you'd find, I think, a good amount of anti-Semitism in Confederation, because I think the main strand of the Polish libertarianism, I think, is paleo-libertarianism, which, for those who don't know, it's sort of freedom, but sort of connected with social values, or the conservative social values. Somebody in the chat asked, what is libertarianism? And the answer is that there is no real definition, because it's so broad. It can include like people who are advocating for throwing off communists from helicopters, to, some people would say objectivists are libertarians. So again, it's oftentimes it's nonsensical, and it tells you very little about the person. Somebody can say they're libertarian, and I have no idea what they think about the issues. Are they pro or anti-vaccine? Are they pro-Israel or anti-Israel? Pro-Ukraine or anti-Ukraine? I don't get any of that information on almost any topic. As Stuart said, they might be flat earthers, for all we know. Now, something to also point out. Uh, I think there was something else I wanted to bring up. I mean, generally, so sort of like libertarianism is this sort of like kind of anti-establishment, oftentimes anti-state. So you also get this weird thing where oftentimes, especially American libertarians, are anti-American. So you get this weird thing where pretty much people like Dave Smith, right? They're and generally even Libertarian Party. They do not even like America for that matter, which should tell you a lot about what kind of ideology those people are trying to argue for. And just to give one more kick to Polish libertarians, specifically Confederation was a party that wanted to restrict abortions more. Now we're talking about the country that during the governing of Law and Justice Party had one of the biggest restrictions on abortion rights in Europe, where women were dying because they couldn't get access to abortions. And this was a party that wanted to make it tougher. So this should give you some idea about, the freedom a lot of these people are arguing for.
Okay, I'm gonna get to his reply to someone in a bit that shows he is actually anti-Semitic, but let me get to the super chats. Thank you, Roland, for the super chat. Roland says, I guess libertarianism is a big tent with a big "No Jews allowed" sign on it. Well, not really. That's the thing. Even calling it a big tent is kind of, it's fitting in the way the term is used, but a tent has defined borders, and libertarianism is a tent in the way kids say, okay, this is now my tent, and it's not actually there's nothing there. And yeah, for some people there should be such a sign. Other people probably wouldn't want such a sign, and other people are Jews who want a "No Jews Allowed" sign, like Dave Smith. So yeah, it's an interesting group.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
think
Christian.
rather than calling it a big tent, it's almost like they're trying to appropriate other things. So a lot of libertarians are sort of like getting chummy with Trump, which again should like give you like big red lights from like you can vote for the guy, but why would you be like a supporter of him? So same with Palestinians, like for whatever you want, like, okay, you don't care about the Middle East, maybe don't say anything. But flying a PLO flag, like, is this the sign of liberty? Like, they could be flying ISIS flag, and they probably would. They're fighting against American imperialism. So I, I cannot right now bring up like libertarians like defending ISIS, but I think if I tried, I could.
I bet if you did, you could find, yeah.
It's the flag of liberty from the Jews. So perhaps that's the sense in which they are libertarians.
Yeah, and okay, I want to get to that. I'm gonna read a few super chats, Christian. I'm gonna read your last super chat after because you spoiled what I'm about to reveal. But thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Christian says, if I see that watermelon flag, I always think of shouting "Free Hijaz" towards them. But those people wouldn't even get the joke because they have no clue about history anyway. Between you and me, I had to Google it. But anyway, thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Thank you, Garbled Words, for the super chat. Garbled Words says a relative is a perfect example. Pushed to the edge by leftist policies, became libertarian, and now is pro-Putin. Yeah, that's another one of the things we see among them is some of them just love Russia, which is consistent. If you're going to be pro-Palestine, you should be pro-Russia. Of course, you shouldn't be either. But anyway, so this is one of his replies. I have a screenshot. The guy, after I unfriended him and posted about him on Facebook, he blocked me. But this is his reply to someone. He says, and I quote, sometimes you have to stand with people who see the world completely differently from you because those who should have been your allies are compromised by power and money, Jewish money to be exact. That's for a good cause. That's called life. Now, I have to say, I don't understand much of what he's trying to say here, but I understand the phrase Jewish money and exactly what it means. So yeah, this guy, while dismissing in advance any accusation of anti-Semitism, is openly saying. Also, what I do understand of what he says in this comment is nobody actually really doesn't want to exterminate the Jews. Some people just pretend it because they're getting paid by Jews. Which is also going to be interesting in the context of how he starts this post, which we'll get to in a bit. So yeah, thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Christian uh, said I was curious to see the Facebook account of that guy today, so I went onto it and he was ranting about Jewish money. Yeah, I don't know if he posted about it again, but that would not surprise me at all. Yeah, he is now taken his brave stance and has come out. Thank you, Nicholas, for the super chat. Um, and thank you, Race, for being a member of the Ayn Rand Center UK YouTube channel for 20 months. Race says, "What's the conversion rates between U.S. dollars and Jewish money? Is it better inflation hedged than gold?" I don't know, but Sebastian Veglarts, I'm sure, would be happy to answer. Okay, should we start reading that post? Okay, this is the post. "I will lose friends and business opportunities by posting this picture, but I don't care. The truth must be spoken no matter what. This has been my guiding thought my entire life. When I started my pro-freedom and pro-human rights activism years ago, I knew I would never compromise my morals for a paycheck." Okay, I'm gonna pause there because the rest is we're gonna get to it. It's him expressing his support. The picture is him waving a PLO flag. Um, but yeah, this is something I found very interesting. I don't think this guy decided to start hating Jews last week, but he did come out last week, and it's very interesting timing. It's very interesting timing, especially with his pretense that he's taking some sort of brave action here. He has waited 2 years to come out in support of the terrorists. He's
When a
waited
literal genocide was going on, he waited 2 years.
Yeah, and waited 2 years and waited for the tide to turn completely that, anti-Semitism is now Taylor Swift level popularity. And now he's pretending again, you are as brave, Sebastian, as somebody who comes out as a Swiftie. That is there is nothing brave about your stance. It's actually pretty cowardly as such, but especially cowardly since you only came out now. Yeah, Jonathan, your thoughts on that part before we get to
Yeah, no, it's very brave, absolutely incredibly brave, and it's I agree. If it was really that he cared so much about the genocide, he would have done a lot more to stop all these Palestinians from dying in this genocide. And I would hope that he would go to his own country and see what genocide looks like, because they have big monuments to that. And he should learn a little bit of history. I think they take all the kids in high school in Poland to these places, so I don't think you can really plead ignorance about these things. I think he might have liked it. Maybe he wants to see more of it. He wants to reactivate it. I don't know, but it's uh, it's sickening and not upsetting. I'm not upset by that. I'm not surprised by that. It's just another uh, one of these evil people in the West who are the useful. I don't like to use useful idiots. They're the idiots who are marching against the Jews. But that's nothing new, is it? How many years the Europeans have marched against the Jews? How many years did the Europeans have things against the Jews? This is not a new phenomenon. This is the whole history of Europe is wanting to kill the Jews. So are we supposed to be surprised every time a European wants to kill the Jews? I'll be surprised if he would not be want to kill the Jews. That would be more surprising nowadays.
First of all, people, even Europeans, have free will, and there has been a pause or a seeming pause in the, let's say, the popularity of anti-Semitism after World War II. It is coming back, at those levels, but yeah, yeah. I also don't like the term "useful idiots" because it implies that he doesn't know where what he's doing will lead to, and I think he very clearly knows. Again, somebody who uses the phrase Jewish money. He's not, he's not trying to use all these weasel words like Zionist when you actually mean Jew, or Israeli when you actually mean Jew. He is saying a lot more of what he means. He's still, again, pretending to not be anti-Semitic, but he is doing that while again using the word. Stuart.
Before that, I also wanna. There's something interesting about this libertarian scene in Europe, which is different than in America, where a lot of these libertarians are very pro-Ukraine. It seems they would march for Ukraine. They see, I think the same individual said in a different post that it's the same. It's free Ukraine and free Palestine. As if that's the same. That's the right axis. And obviously, both cases are a country defending itself against a hostile invader. But for some reason, the standard for Ukraine is different than Israel. And I think that also should imply that there's something a bit more sinister at play.
Yeah, Stuart.
Well, I just want to know more about this Jewish money. If people are being paid to support Israel, I've been doing it for free for most of my life. I get, how do you sign up for this Jewish money? Yeah, it's astonishing to me that anti-Semitism seems to be coming back even in. I mean, you would think that as diffuse as libertarianism is, you would still think that it wouldn't be a comfortable home, just based on liberty being in the name of the so-called belief. But if you go back and Murray Rothbard goes way back in libertarianism, and he also was he was very anti-American, and although I think he was Jewish, he also was fairly anti-Semitic. So the roots of this go back a long way in libertarianism. Unfortunately, it's not a new phenomenon.
Yeah, and it is interesting, people across the free market spectrum, let's very loosely call it that. And what something they often get, we've gotten it all the time, when we advocate for free markets is, who's paying you, or you're funded by billionaires. It's the weakest argument anybody can ever make, and you can make that against, is a school teacher lying to the kids because she's getting paid to do her work? I mean, it's really pathetic, as is everything about that post. But it's interesting. But again, I think it was less about the money itself and more about saying, okay, this is the Jews.
I thought that it was pro money. I thought it was pro capitalism. Why is it
Well,
money bad when it comes to having the right opinion? I
I
would
don't
love,
know.
I agree. I would love to get these Jewish billions. Where is it, Razi?
Well, look, he's been getting it for the last 2 years by not taking this brave stance, and now he said, "Okay, I have enough." I get that. I guess that's one way to interpret it. But anyway, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, again, this idea that it's a brave, brave to come out. We are talking about a situation where I think we've covered it just last week, right? Two Israeli girls were afraid to say they are from Israel at Coldplay concert, and after they said they are from there, they got a lecture about no, I will respect that you are a human, as if that was ever a question for those two girls. So again, and you had this constant barrage against Israel, as you said, like a complete propaganda. This idea that it's brave to come out. I mean, what is he gonna lose? Like, I would be like genuinely wondering if there is any sort of loss he will sort of get. Like most of the countries are considering like cutting all ties. I think just today or yesterday, the Spain has recalled their ambassador from Israel. So Israel is getting more and more sort of the world against it. And again, for good thing, it would be one thing if there is I've talked about it. You have this continuous violence against Jewish people around the world, continuing anti-Semitism, and it would be one thing if I always said it, after the anti-Muslim sort of violence after 9/11 was wrong because you don't like target random people just because they have some association. But at least there was like a recognition that 9/11 was a bad thing and you have some weird connection to every single Muslim at all. But Israel did nothing wrong. There's not a single thing that Israel did wrong throughout this war, and I'm abstracting. Because in the large scheme of things, absolutely zero wrong things have happened by Israel, and they're attacked because of that. It's because Israel is defending itself. So again, these libertarians like coming out in support of the Palestine as if that's something good. And as you've said, he said the quiet part out loud. The Jewish money. You're supposed to say the Zionists. You're supposed to call it the Zionist entity. Maybe since he's a libertarian, he probably isn't running fully in the same circles because people like Hassan Piker have already figured out that as long as you say Zionist, you can call for killing all of them, and as well as the great Guardian, who didn't even have the top story, the Jerusalem terrorist attack. The top story of Guardian was the fact that there is more anti-Israel rhetoric coming around. But Guardian just did an interview with Mahmoud Khalil, a guy who was recently at a conference calling for killing of the Jews around the world. Well, he's a Zionist, so it's okay.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat says the most cringe channel on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Feel free to send the next such comment in a super chat. Yeah, Daniel, you mentioned Spain. Spain also one of the new measures is a total weapons embargo on Israel. So if the next invasion is by an army of bulls, the Israeli Matador force will be severely, under not well armed, and I don't know how they're going to handle it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Israel can handle itself without Spain's weapons.
Yeah, I'm wondering what is the actual percentage, because I remember back, this was like a bit ago, like maybe more than a year, when the UK also did like a ban on some like weapons exports, and it was like 0.1% or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to his post. So yeah, the last thing he said, I knew I would never compromise my morals for a paycheck. And then after he prefaces his post by telling us how brave he is, he continues, while in Barcelona, I took part in events connected to the global Sudmud flotilla, the largest humanitarian maritime aid mission in history. On August 31st, dozens of boats carrying representatives from 44 countries set sail from Barcelona's port. Their mission? To break the siege of Gaza. On board are doctors, activists, artists, and politicians, along with vast amounts of medicine and food destined for the starving and suffering people of Palestine. Okay, this is another interesting, an interesting brave stance, which is he went to wave the flag at people who boarded those boats. I mean, the other thing, again, if you look at his replies to people who are replying to him, not with praise, you see that this guy is really anti-intellectual, and will state his position, but will not defend it when criticized, and that's not a surprise.
No, I think it's rather clear from the language, vocabulary, and overall aesthetic that he's not of the most sophisticated branch. And I can attest to that from my personal experience as well, pretty confidently. So, he should have joined the flotilla. Why not? I mean, why didn't he join the flotilla? Is what I would ask him. Why, if you're so brave, didn't you join this heroic mission, which I hope will find its fate in the bottom of the Mediterranean, where they truly deserve it is naval invasion of a country under war. That's how it should be properly met, not with sandwiches and free flights to Paris as it was last time. I think we should take our lesson. The fact that it worsened by how many times? It was how many ships is it now? Dozens of ships. So by thousands of percent We have worsened the situation by giving them sandwiches. So the logical conclusion should be not to give them sandwich, at least to give them something else, perhaps torpedoes, perhaps something else. I think I would take this if I were a like a good libertarian. Not all libertarians are bad. There are very good libertarians with good views on Israel. I know some of them, and I would take this and look. Oh, maybe there is something wrong about the fact that we are an open tent. Maybe we should take a more of a moral stand. You can't be pro free market and pro Sharia law at the same time. It just doesn't quite work. Did he stop the record? Why did we hear that?
Still life.
Still, sorry. So why? If I were European, I would just look at it more carefully and try to evaluate: is this the kind of people I want to associate myself with? Is this the kind of people maybe I'm neighbors with? Maybe it's a bad sign for what is to come in Europe. I mean, look at what's going on in England these days, in the UK, particularly the country of this channel. What is going on in the streets? Who is this new Home Secretary that you now have? What's going on in our country? What does our future look like? Instead of being obsessed about uh, political events that have virtually nothing to do with you and you can't have any impact on whatsoever, maybe focus on how to improve your own life, how to improve our own countries, so that your own children will be safe, you yourself will be safe, you'll have a better, happier future. I thought that was what libertarian is truly about. So let's see it. I want to see the good libertarians take a stand.
Yeah, Stuart, I know that beyond the anti-Semitism, Jonathan is also bothered by the way this guy dresses, but I'm sitting here in a t-shirt, so I'm not sure I can comment on that. But yeah, the substance where there is substance is disturbing. And again, like the reason that we on this channel do talk about libertarians a bit more maybe than we seemingly should is because objectivists are often associated with libertarians, or you know, even people who accept that it's not the same, think, okay, you're kind of on the same side of things. And no, anti-Semitism, support for the Palestinians, those are not compatible with objectivism. You cannot, you know, accidentally, you can go in different directions, misinterpreting the philosophy. But yeah, I think the Palestinianism is a few steps beyond the kind of legitimate boundaries.
I agree, and yet I have encountered, self-proclaimed objectivists who are, support Palestine. Not many, but I've come across a few. So even in objectivism, dubbing yourself a particular thing doesn't necessarily mean that you are that thing, and also it just doesn't mean that your thinking is necessarily good.
Okay, I might, after we're off the air, ask you to name them so that if I'm accidentally Facebook friends with any of them, I can undo that, fix that error.
Really, it means a lot, this Facebook friends thing, Razi.
Look, I fully accept that the term friend is used differently, on Facebook than in real life. I see posts from people who are Facebook friends who I've never met in life that I get value from. But yeah, even if the definition is broader, again, the anti-Semitism is beyond wherever the line is. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, oh, I mean, what to add? I mean, when it comes to sort of libertarians, you are starting to see it to some extent that actual like decent people don't want to call themselves libertarians anymore. I mean, one of my favorite videos ever is or sort of, well, I mentioned one more first thing. When there was the conference, the libertarian conference in America, where they sort of like changed the nature of the culture, the party, when the Mises caucus took over, there is a clip of Justin Amash reading quotes from Ludwig von Mises at the stage, and libertarians were booing him. because in some cases he talked about how a state is a necessary good when it comes to ensuring freedom. And and or people like trying to remember the name, John Stossel. I'm not sure how urgent he is on calling himself libertarian. I think he used to do it more before. But yeah, if you go to the recent presidential libertarian candidate, I have the clip. Maybe we can play it. He goes on to talk about how he's the only one who will actually stand up against genocide, which is the reason why I was saying during the last election that I hope originally Biden or Trump and then Harris or Trump. I hope at least one of them wins because the Green and Libertarian candidate would absolutely destroy America. They are so anti-American, even in comparison with those two. So yeah, it's incredible how destructive really these people are when you actually go into sort of the ideas they hold.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the Libertarian candidate. With the Green Party candidate, it was Jill Stein, right? I
Yes.
absolutely agree. I would campaign
Endorsed
for
by
either
David
Harris or
Duke.
Trump if this was who they're up against.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, actually, just a real funny story right here. I've recently watched Black K Klansman, which is like a movie about a guy who, like a black guy who infiltrated KKK. And it had, well, he did it by basically just calling with them. And then he sent like a police officers, like white police officers, to the meetings. And it's based on a real story. And at the end of the movie, I think the movie came out in like 2019. The end of the movie it talked about how David Duke wants to reform KKK to like get into political office, and it was doing like real comparisons with like Donald Trump and sort of like his racism, and now you have David Duke endorsing the Green candidate Jill Stein, who the people who made the movie would probably be more fan of. So I found it interesting.
yeah, that's not a surprise. By the way, thanks for clarifying how a black person can infiltrate the KKK. Actually, if you wear the whole thing, that maybe. But anyway, no,
Well,
no.
you still need to put down the hood sometimes when they actually take you in. But I think there is one more story where there is actually like a black person who did actually become like either friends with David Duke or something like that. I think that the story was also popular, but I don't know much about
Yeah,
that
and
one.
by the way, the sort of political version of it in the UK, the British National Party, which until I think it's less than 15 years ago, didn't admit non-white people into the party until a court forced them to, and then on the day that the court forced them to, a black person signed up and he said like, "Oh, I've been waiting for this my whole life" or something like that. The leader of that party has also, I don't remember if he endorsed Jeremy Corbyn, but has spoken very favorably because, of course, first of all, the further you go to the left and to the right, the closer they are ideologically with variance, but really not substantial variance. And anyway, I'm interested in Daniel, the clip you want to play, but let's read the last part of this post and then get to the Libertarian Party in the U.S. Okay, so he concludes this post. Many of my friends are part of organizations sponsored by pro-Israel donors, and they are unable to speak out loud about Gaza despite desperately wanting to do so. My DMs were flooded with heartwarming messages of support and gratitude for standing up for this cause. I am your voice. I am the voice of the people of Gaza. Now, this is a thing generally. This guy is enough of an idiot to actually put it in those words. But this is a thing with supporters of the Palestinians in the West. They claim to be the voice of the people of Gaza. The people of Gaza are speaking. They're speaking loudly. They can be heard. We see videos of them. They are united in wanting to continue this war that they started, in being happy to die, happy for their children to die. Nobody wants Palestinian children to die more than Palestinian adults. This is and this has always been the case. So yeah, you are not the voice. You are the voice of low life cowards in the West who wait until a movement is so broad that you can get lost in it, but still pretend to your group of Facebook friends that you are somehow taking a brave stance, and some people are pathetic enough to actually slide into your DMs and send you a applauding emoji or something like that.
Yeah, just really quickly, Abu Obaida was recently killed by Israel, who is the spokesperson for Al-Qassam Brigades, the military wing of Hamas. So yeah, the voice of Gaza is current. The position is open if he's willing.
Yeah, and I'm sure they read that post and they're happy to hire this guy. Yeah, Jonathan.
It's just so ridiculous. It's hard for me to respond very seriously. Yeah, he is the voice of the people of Gaza because he waved the flag in Barcelona and he put a post on Facebook about it. What a voice they have. I mean, he's probably the only person who has ever done such a courageous act for the suffering children of Gaza. I'm sure they are all feeling highly indebted to him, and they will welcome him as a citizen of honor in Gaza when he is landing from his flotilla. Oh, wait, he's actually not going to be coming this time, but perhaps some other time when it'll be maybe in 2 years after the genocide claims some more lives, he will do the courageous act and actually show up at the war zone and take an AK-47 and join the tunnel hiding that they are engaged in. It's just it seems just ridiculous to me to even analyze these words. I don't think there's anything of profound insight there.
Yeah. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, Nicholas, for the super chat. Nicholas says, it's also important to point out how ignorant libertarians often are. They criticize the dumb foreign policy hawks, but themselves have seldom mastered the basic facts of international politics. Yeah, I think you might be probably being again a bit generous with these people, but again, because it's such a broad a broad church, you can have various levels of wrong, and some people who are right except wrong in defining themselves as libertarian. Stuart.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's astonishing. We see this, in so many areas where people will, read a few memes or hear a few TikToks or whatever, and imagine that they understand the situation, and they're able to be the voice of the people of Gaza. I'm sure this guy has not studied the history of the region or gone into any depth on anything. But you see this in so many areas. This is a topic for another day, but the fact that so many people are now taken in by, oh, vaccines are killing our children. It's like, oh, well, why do you think that? Well, I saw this TikTok and I heard, this and that. And say they've done no research. They know nothing about anything, but they've convinced themselves that, they're in the know, and it's just astonishing to me. People think that they're experts on something or think they've done their research, and they have no idea how vastly ignorant they are. It blows me away. It's so common.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I think social media is great, at least in potential and in how you can use it. But yeah, TikToks, I think for this guy, TikTok is too much of has too much intellectual depth. Like you have to actually talk for a few seconds, whereas he again prides himself on being a meme person. Like memes, memes are much more basic intellectually than TikToks. And yeah, it does convince some of the worst people of whatever it is that's being pushed in such types of content. Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Christian says Vittorio Arrigoni, an Italian journalist and activist, also thought to be a voice of Gaza. He paid with his life for that insanity. Yeah, this was the Italian who went to Gaza to show his support and was slaughtered. Not surprising at all. Yeah, and look, I don't wish death on these people. Well, wish death on the terrorists in Gaza. I don't wish death on every random person waving a PLO flag. I wouldn't shed tears for any of them, but it's not what I wish for them. I would love to see some of them actually, evolve beyond memes and actually try to think deeply and maybe do it in order to come up with actual arguments for supporting the Palestinians and end up, if they're honest, um, on the other side. I think that's a bit too much to hope for, but I'm sometimes overly optimistic. Daniel, yeah, your thoughts, and then let's go to the Libertarian Party clip.
Uh, yeah, I mean, first it's sort of scary, because the fact that if it's true that so many people have written to him, because you have actual people who do want the destruction of Israel and are simply not afraid to say it out publicly. Which, as I said, that's why I'm not sure if this specific person is involved with the what is it, the Students for Liberty, but that is one organization when I do kind of like them, but also, as I said, as with many libertarians, you literally have no idea, like it's a flip of a coin of any of their positions. So to some extent, I think cancel culture is a good thing. It's uh, like certain ideas should really have actually no, the fact that again, as I've often said with especially with the American universities, I don't necessarily think a government should be well, I don't think government should be involved in policing speech, but the fact that you have like the most prestigious American universities getting so many students that are outwardly coming out in support of the destruction of like Western state, are calling for the destruction of Israel, and the Jewish students are feeling afraid in those specific universities. That is like a scary time of like a scary culture to sort of to be in, which I don't think can even be solved by sort of government, because it's a cultural thing that is changing. So that's why it has to be spoken out. And again, just quickly, because somebody goes on and on about Ben Gvir's supposed genocidal statements against Gaza. I don't have recorded every single statement from Ben Gvir, but when he's calling for the destruction of Gaza, when he's calling for occupation on Gaza, that is simply something that has to happen. There is nothing necessarily genocidal about it. And again, genocide has a very high threshold. Even if you say, I want to kill all Palestinians, you still have to prove that in actions. Show me actions that show that Israel is sort of going on in the like trying to do some sort of genocide. Which again, genocide doesn't stop at borders. It's not like Nazi Germany just killed all the Jews in Germany. No, they went out of their way to import Jews from Italy, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Denmark, Sweden. I could go on and on. They made sure they could get Jews from other nations to kill. There is, unless you think Arabs in Israel are different from Arabs in Gaza and Judea and Samaria, unless you want to make that statement that those are not Palestinians, if you say that those are the same people, it makes no sense that Israel would somehow try to genocide these people, but somehow they are okay with other Arabs. Like, show me the Jews the Nazi Germany was okay with.
Um, Okay, a couple of points. One is, I can understand organizations that, just focus on, let's say, economics and aren't talking about, international relations and war and so on. But if you are taking a stance for Ukraine, you should be taking a stance for Israel. And if you're, not, you don't have that same clarity, then yeah, you are not on the side of freedom, absolutely. And I have to say, um, the whole thing about the definition of genocide and statements, when you look at the attempted case in the kangaroo court in The Hague, it's all about statements. None of it is about any actual actions that Israel has taken. It's about statements by politicians, by journalists, and so on. But that doesn't matter. This has never been about convicting Israel in some court that exists to punish Western countries for defending themselves against savages. This is about moving the debate from the people who are saying openly all the time, whenever they open their mouth, that all they want is to kill all the Jews, and then they act on it. Now, they're not as successful as Europeans were in the previous century, so it's not as in your face, but it is 100% in your face in terms of their intentions and in terms of them acting on it. They have moved the debate to the point that we are talking about, is it genocide? Here's why it isn't, and that is their victory, which is a shame. Yeah, there is one side here who is genocidal. Everybody who is everybody who is against genocide is pro-Israel in this war. 100% of people, 100% of people who don't want innocent children to die are on the side of Israel. And yeah, let's not let these people, I mean, pro-Palestinian people in the West, get away with redefining every word to make Israel the bad guy. Yeah, anyway. Thank you, Garbled Words, for the super chat. Garbled Words says, check out Apostate Music's Trolling of Chank's Obsession with Israel. Funny track and video. Great outro for today's show. I don't know if we can find it that quickly, but if we can, maybe we will. But before we get to closing remarks, Daniel, do you want to show us that clip? Because now I'm curious. I've seen Libertarian Party presidential debates where, there's a streaker and everybody cheers, or somebody's doing his whole bit in rap. That was a thing in a libertarian presidential debate, rapping his whole shtick. So yeah, Daniel,
Well, just quickly, my favorite libertarian clip ever is from 2016 when Gary Johnson ended up being the candidate, and there was there was like a debate, and somebody asked if there should be like a driving license for driving on roads, and every single person is like, no, there shouldn't be. Gary Johnson was like, well, maybe there should be, you should prove some competency before you go on the roads, and he got booed by everybody, which I just found amusing. But let's listen from Chase Oliver.
I will be the only national candidate. RFK won't, Joe Biden won't, Donald Trump won't, but I'm saying right now, end genocide, ceasefire now, and support peace around the world. No more proxy wars. Absolutely, free the hostages too.
Just quickly.
Well, he's totally not an anti-Semite because he said "free the hostages too" in response to somebody shouting it in the audience.
Just quickly, this was before Biden stepped down, so that's why he mentioned Biden. And also, I just noticed that this video was from Al Jazeera.
Yeah. That's interesting. We have come full circle here. Talking about Jonathan. You were talking about libertarians for Sharia law, and an Islamic totalitarian regime's official news propaganda channel is highlighting libertarians. Well done, libertarians. I'm sure you're proud of yourselves. Parting thoughts, Jonathan?
I just find it very interesting that when it comes to, and perhaps it is the ultimate litmus test of any ideology, when it comes to the Jewish question, almost all these supposed opposites seem to agree exactly on this sort of miraculously. The Nazis agree with the libertarians, and they agree with the communists, and they agree with the Islamists, and they're just all besties when it comes to this particular question. I find it very revealing of their actual their ugly faces. Perhaps to end with a more positive message, I would say instead of trying to be a voice for other people, try to be a voice for yourself. Try to be that focused on living your life to the fullest extent as you do on marching on the streets waving flags. That should be, I think, good step in a right direction. Stop ignoring the glaring issues in your life and trying to substitute them with going about all sorts of matters that don't really actually have to do with you. Be obsessed about your own life. Be happy. strive towards happiness. Viewers can find me on philosophyinit.com. Link is in the description. Today I posted about the horrific terrorist attack we had here in Jerusalem. So thank you.
Stuart, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I agree with Jonathan. I think most of the world's problems would disappear if people just focused on making their own lives better and stopped worrying about what other people were doing. That doesn't seem to be what's happening in the world, but yeah, very good advice, Jonathan. I can be found at stuartmargolis.substack.com, and I am also very active on Facebook, probably to my detriment sometimes. But anyway, you can find me there.
Daniel, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
Well, just that, it's if you give it even a second of thought, it's clear who is the good guy and who is the bad guy here. It really requires a really bad ideology to convince you that somehow Palestinians are the one who are in the right, or are the one that should be defended, or are the one that should be argued for, especially if you are supposedly coming from the individual rights perspective. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Damned Dan.
One of our increasing number. I haven't been here for a while, and yeah, the number of anti-Semitic trolls in the chat has been growing. Thanks for the engagement, guys. It does mean more people get to see this content. One of them says, attacking someone for calling the N wars. I don't know if this guy is new, but you know you don't get away with that kind of stuff here. Yeah, no. If you are the idea that the pro-Palestinian side is anti-war in any way is ridiculous. When the Palestinian people started this war on October 7th, the streets were flooded with people celebrating, the same people who are now protesting against an imagined genocide. So no. You are the pro-war side. Jonathan's advice is generally not enough, but generally what people do in the West. That is the difference between the West and the backwards savages from the Middle Ages in the Middle East. So yeah, if you want wars to end, there's a way to end them. It's called victory. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for watching. The Daily Objective and the reality show are back tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.